Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you are doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, so in European countries in the mid to late 70s, after the introduction of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, there was a huge influx of zombie and undead movies. It was basically an entire cottage industry that was cranking out one zombie movie after another, all kind of inspired by George Romero's movies. However, before the introduction of Dawn of the Dead into the European countries, there was a trilogy of movies called the Blind Dead movies. And these were created and directed by a Spanish-Portuguese director by the name of Armando de Osorio. And his movies predated the Italian zombie craze that rose up after Dawn of the Dead. The Blind Dead movies were probably more influenced by Hammer horror than anything else because they seemed to focus more on atmosphere rather than gore. And while not great by any means, these movies can still be quite a bit of fun, even if they are all mostly poorly paced and quite frankly a little boring. They do have some really nice atmosphere, and the undead Templars look amazing. There's something super cool about these zombies wearing Templar cloaks and armor, shambling about, wielding two-handed claymores. It's all very metal and very cool. So the main movies were from 1973, you had Tombs of the Blind Dead. Then you had Return of the Blind Dead from 1973 also. That is also sometimes called Attack of the Evil Dead. And then you had part 3, which was called Ghost Galleons, or Blind Dead 3 Horror of the Zombies in 1974. So these movies featured zombie Templar knights as the main antagonists. And these were Templar knights that went against the church, they went against the crusade, and they were punished, and they had their eyes ripped out. They were probably involved in some kind of like satanic rituals or witchcraft or something, had their eyes gouged out, and they came back from the dead in order to get revenge on the people who did them wrong. And so that brings me to the topic today of the game from Andreas Savilagoy, the Alone Against Fear, with the expansion, the supplement, The Coming of the Dark Templars, which is working in that subgenre of the Blind Dead cinema, or the Blind Dead films. Let's read a little bit about the lore of the game here. Centuries ago, demon-worshipping knights were tortured and then put to death for their heinous crimes by the Inquisition. But during their lifetime, these Dark Templars had learned the secret of eternal life. Some say they managed to drink blood from the Holy Grail. Others simply say that by dealing with demonic forces, they discovered a ritual allowing them to continue living forever. Now these restless evil spirits are using the dark energies unleashed during the events of Alone Against Fear to come back and punish the descendants of those who judged and killed them. In their last days, the knights were tortured, maimed, and blinded. The occult forces that gave them eternal unlife make sure they will keep these impairments in their resurrected bodies. Like they did in life, some of them will ride undead demonic steeds and will be equipped with rusty but still deadly medieval weapons and armor. You may assume that the adventure takes place somewhere in Europe. Spain, Portugal, or France could be perfect. Or if your main campaign is set somewhere else, then the bodies and tombs of the Templars have been brought to a different continent by some cultists interested in reviving the cursed Crusaders. Okay, so The Coming of the Dark Templars is a supplement, is a standalone adventure for Alone Against Fear. As a standalone adventure, you still need Alone Against Fear for the core rules, but this can be played completely separate from the core campaign and adventure of Alone Against Fear. So as a standalone adventure, I think the coming of the Dark Templars is a little lacking. So what you are doing in this supplement here, this expansion, is you are moving around this town. I haven't named my town yet, but this is a separate town from your main campaign. So you can either play this as an offshoot of that campaign or as a standalone game. This particular game I'm playing as a standalone game, and I'm going to talk about why I don't think that's the best way to play this this particular supplement as we go through this video. But in this game, you are playing in this town. You are going to be starting at a random location at a roll of a 1 to a 6. And then you will visit each of these locations during the game to track down the 4 clues you need to figure out how to stop the Dark Templars from enacting their evil ritual. And you go from one location to the next. You can move from any location to any other location on the map. And then those locations will have an entry in this book, and you read what they are. You can visit a farm, a number of different houses, a train station, a church, graveyard, the fun fair, a military installation, a water tower, clinic, school, library, stately mansions, or the mall. And a few of the locations, the church, the graveyard, the fun fair, and the military installation, they have their own charts to roll on, their own D6 charts to roll on to find out what kind of random encounter you have there. There are also 2 D6 charts to roll on for when you come across one of the Dark Templars. What kind of Dark Templar will you be facing? The first 6 here are not quite as powerful or unique as the second 6. So when you roll on the second table, it's usually a little more exciting. You also have a new chart of D6 special books you can read. There are things that you can find when you search the mall. And there are a few new skills that you can find, such as alert, medieval sword, sword parry, and lock picking. So if you start this game with a new character, it suggests that you start the game with 6 experience points to spend on new on skills. So you want to enter this game with a little bit of an upgraded character. I'm actually playing as a new character named Matthew Marvis. I actually died in this adventure. The skills that I chose was investigator, zombie hunter, tough, and slippery. I had a shotgun and a sword I got from one of the Templars. And my character was doing really well. I found all of my clues, but when I went to face off against the Templars, I actually ended up dying because I forgot to stop by the clinic on the way to the final showdown in order to get healed. So as a standalone adventure, as a small game, I think this is a little lacking. A lot of, or many of the locations that you will visit don't really have a lot going on. Only a few have a dedicated chart. There aren't a ton of new things to discover, and there are only 2 special events. And the special events in Alone Against Fear are what I think make this game really stand out. And so as a standalone adventure, as a little mini game, I find this disappointing. However, I think the most interesting way to play this game would be to use it as a side quest in Alone Against Fear. So Alone Against Fear does have a table of side quests, side missions. I think that you could add like a 7 or an 8 to this table and roll a d8 and have a 7 or 8 be to face off against the Templars as a side quest, because there are rules to travel between this town and the main town from For Against Fear. And you have to roll on a couple charts. You have to roll on the woods or the forest table from here twice to simulate your travels from one town to the next. In the coming of the Dark Templars, if there are consequences for your main game if you win or lose, and that is really cool. So while I don't think this works really as an interesting or fun standalone game, I do think the way to play it would be as a optional side quest to go on in Alone Against Fear. And so if you wanted to just stop the video right here and avoid a little spoiler. You can know that while I do not recommend this as a standalone game, I do recommend to play it as a side quest with Alone Against Fear. I absolutely love Alone Against Fear. We're going to be seeing a few more videos on this game in the near future. But right now, I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler on why I think these two work so well together. And here it is. So if you lose the Coming of the Dark Templars, and my character lost, I was killed at the final battle, then every other character that you play in Alone Against Fear is haunted by the Dark Templars. And every time you have to roll up a unique undead enemy in Alone Against Fear, you actually roll on the Dark Templars table, 1 or 2, I believe. And these Dark Templars will hunt you down until you come to this city and stop them and complete this game. So it really does work well as a side quest for Alone Against Fear. And I'm taking that kind of like one step further to where the knight that ended up killing me was a knight in a black robe. He killed my character, Matthew Marvis. So I'm going to say that this particular knight in a black robe is kind of like one of the slashers from this book now. And that Templar knight in a black robe is going to be haunting my next campaign in Alone Against Fear. And that is super cool. I love that idea. And I don't think that there really is enough in this book for it to stand alone as a fun and exciting adventure. There's just not enough meat on this bone. But as a little side quest, there's a ton of meat on this bone for a little side quest, and that is how I'm going to play it in the future. I love Alone Against Fear. Alone Against Fear is my favorite game from Andreas Safiligoy, and we will be talking a little bit more about why in a subsequent video. So this is just a real quick video today. I wanted to I wanted to get Alone Against Fear back to the table, and I wanted to experience this Dark Templars scenario. I do like the blind dead. I think it's an interesting concept, and it's not one that is explored very often in gaming. So that's why I thought it was really cool that Andrea brought that kind of subgenre of European zombie cinema into this game. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.